Hey, welcome back to another episode of We Want to Know, the Action Pack Show. I'm your host, Leddy, and I have again another repeat guest on our show, Mr. Jon Savares. Howdy, John.
Day, Phil. Day, Action Pack. Day, Guam.
Man, excellent. It's great to see you move forward through the primary, and now we're leading up to the general election. Early voting has begun, and the general election is on November 8th. So before we jump into our interview questions, which is really a recap of our first interview, I just want to thank you again for taking your time, and I want to allow you to have some opening remarks to our viewers.
Day, Guam. Day, Action Pack Familia. And thank you, Phil, for always pushing me to get on the ball and make sure that I do as much as I can to share my message with everybody. And I think that's what Action Pack's really about. It's about empowerment, right? Empowerment of our people and our island, especially our youth. You guys just did that huge event at Hard Rock, and I commend you for your actions on such short notice. You guys stepped up. I'm Jonathan Savares. I'm number 14 on the Democratic side of the ballot, and really, it's about growing our community together. When I think of this, I think of our municipal affairs, neighborhood watch crime programs, community gardens, sustainability projects, right? Because really, it takes all of us. Remember the old adage where it takes a village to raise a child, and that's the adage that I was raised in within the municipality, right? I grew up for the last 22 years in the background of public service with my mother, Mayor Melissa Savares. Then, of course, I had a stint in the United States Army where I was medically retired for an array of things. And then for the last 8 years, I've been advocating for cannabis reform on our island, cannabis is actually my medicine. I'm the longest running medical cannabis patient on island. And I've worked on I've helped with every cannabis bill that has come through our legislature over the last couple of years.
That's awesome, I want to thank you because you were one of a handful of candidates that took the time out of their day or their evening last Friday to visit and show face at the Hard Rock the Vote event. But also you were very keen to walk around and speak to those in attendance. A lot of them are first time voters, so I appreciate that. I really do respect the fact that you took the time out to speak to our guests. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Excellent. You're right. Action Pack, it's all about that empowerment. So now we're going to empower you to answer our questions. Again, this is kind of a overview of what we discussed previously. So again, if you can just tell us a few of your campaign pillars, and then we'll jump into a main focus item. So your campaign pillars, please.
So when we look at it, right, it begins at the municipal level. Our mayors don't really take sides on politics when it comes to servicing our community. And this is where the base of my foundation comes from, right? But instead of making a jump to serve our community in the municipal level, I actually made a decision to step up because I see that the greater problem is getting the mayors the resources, and the resources actually need to come at the legislative level. We want to handle and start tackling longstanding issues that affect people on a daily basis: potholes, stray dogs, junk cars. We have to get the mayors the mechanisms from the legislative level in order for them to address these problems in a timely manner and with response that the community deserves, because that's what our people really deserve. Then, of course, we get into community watch programs and neighborhood watch. I've learned over the last couple of years through participating in 3 different community neighborhood watch programs that these have actually become very effective tools to combat crime and help. And it also helps us learn who we live by. Because one thing that I've learned coming back from the States, living there for almost 10 years, or about 6 years, was many people moved out and relocated to the States, and there was all these new people. So I didn't even know who my neighbors were. So not knowing who our neighbors were, it became worrisome, right? Of course, for years, Phil, you're from that. We didn't have to lock our doors growing up.
You're right.
You remember, and we knew who our neighbors were, and our neighbors helped police the community. But those neighbors are no longer there. We actually, by doing this and empowering people, we all have the same issue with crime. And working as a community is going to be a huge step to actually combat this. And then, of course, we get into sustainability. When I look at sustainability, there's two steps. One, food sustainability and energy sustainability. We have to start looking at things that are going to lower the cost of food for our island, right? We import about 90% of our food. We need to empower people to grow more of their own food, produce meat for themselves. Right now, the mobile slaughterhouse that the funding is there for the mobile slaughterhouse. We need to get into those kind of productions so our people have food sustainability, and then of course energy sustainability. One of the biggest things we have here especially during dry season, our air cons are our air cons are one of those most crucial parts of our house. But if we run our air con for too long, our our power bill is going to jump up another $150, and most people can't afford that. So we need to start looking at things that are going to produce and that we can go to produce energy that at a lower cost for our people. Right? We got solar. I know that we have this new power plant being built by GPA. That's basically going to burn a cleaner and a lower cost fuel, but it's not enough. We need to actually harness those powers, right? Harness the power, get GPA the infrastructure they need to get battery banks, and then turn those old campus facilities, instead of renovating it, we really should look at it as a battery storage facility, because we have all those solar farms in the south, and it only can harness so much power and push it out. But we need to have a reserve in the tank that are idling can run off it, that we created here without having fossil fuels.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that really goes back to your whole your whole passion or focus on empowerment. And just judging from your pillars, you're talking about empowering our leaders on the municipal level, which I firmly support, because the mayors, they are the boots on the ground.
The
And
front line.
yeah, you know this, your mom.
Well, you've seen me, Phil. You've
Mhm.
seen me out there. I think you've stopped by and you drove by, like you shot me a message, and I was out there filling a pothole, and
Correct.
you see me direct traffic and those things, right? Just taking the time to go out there when really the mayor's office, especially in Leddy, they're very short staffed,
Hmm.
but just stopping to help when you see something that needs to be done in our community. This takes a full community effort. And this is why we need to know who lives by us. We need to help each other as a community, because we can re-strengthen our island as a whole, if we start at the municipal level.
And that's your second point about really focusing on almost reintroducing the aspect of community. I love that. Because with the neighborhood watch programs, that means that crime is on a rise. But if the neighborhood bands together, and everyone has the common respect, but also the common security to protect one another, then you open up the doors for such a beautiful, vibrant neighborhood life. And when that happens, I firmly believe crime would reduce. And I mean, not trying to work too hard to patch your ideas together, but crime reduces at nighttime when it's hot. Back in the day, man, we used to have, leave the windows open with, you just have a screen. There's
Can't do that
no
anymore.
way that we're doing that today, because
No way.
of the fact that it's just not safe. So I love that community aspect. I've always loved that about your approach to your platform from the first day that you started speaking about your decision to run. So we're gonna segue into can you just remind our viewers, it might be the same as in our first interview, or your thought process had found another area. What is one main focus item or area that you believe you can realistically accomplish in one term?
So one of the biggest things that I'm really gonna push for is getting the mayors the resources. Instead of fixing a pothole with a shovel and the back of the tire, they need the equipment, because that's putting a blanket on the problem. You don't give them the resources, right? It's not even a band-aid. A band-aid's not even it's not even we're just trying to hide the problem. It's the band-aid would be, okay, well, we're gonna give somebody a little, how do we say, a little tamper, right? To do something. But we need to give them more than that. If you want to fix that pothole, you actually have to compact that sand, compact that cold mix, and make sure that water isn't going to seep in there to wash that patch that the mayor just put in there. But if you're going to try to do it with a shovel or a pickup truck, you're not going to be able to accomplish it and correct the problem the right way. And in the rainy season, like we're seeing right now, those potholes are going to open right back up, and then the mayor's going to get the same call that they've been getting for months saying you didn't do your job. But really, it's combating the weather conditions here. They're never going to get ahead if we don't give them the tools. So realistically, I know that we can get the mayors, we can get the mayors some of these tools to do this. And then also, I'm a huge cannabis I've been advocating for cannabis reform on Guam for the last 8 years. So one of the bigger things that we need to address are the rules and regulations, right? There's a lot of constrictive legislation rules that are in place right now, tying the hands of the cultivators, tying the hands of. We just saw public health come out and the legislature introduce a bill to fix the public health concerns with the edibles, but you're still, if you look at the rules and regulations there and talk to people who are interested in the manufacturing side, they'll tell you the edibles rules are not in a good place for them to be successful. So those are things that I want to make sure I'm going to tackle. Also, in the rules, they're lacking a bunch of things, right? That our community needs to help generate more income from this industry. Events, we have to have look at making sure that the tourists are not violating the law, right? And looking at mechanisms like that are gonna entice people to come here and know that it's safe to consume cannabis here. And our government supports a new addition to the tourism industry, working with GHRA to make sure that what is it that we create an agreement on what we can push out from the what the dispensaries can push out, and work with them to help to ensure that the legislation meets some criteria, so this new industry isn't affecting our current industry, well, not pre-pandemic industry, as well as ensuring that we're not affecting their bottom their facilities, because that's the main concern with that we're hearing from people within the hotel community or the hotel industry, is we don't want people smoking in our rooms. Then let's work cohesively to ensure that we can create places on our island and identify this, and then work with the industry to create roadmaps on where safe consumption areas on Guam are, or as well as looking at cannabis consumption lounges and making adjustments to the Natasha Act where it's necessary, so we can accomplish these things, right? So people actually have safe consumption areas for cannabis while they're here. So realistically, those are things that I'm for sure going to tackle. Also have a couple of other things. A veteran cannabis bill, that's going to be the first piece of legislation I introduce. It's to get veterans in line with the what is it called? Veterans Health Administration 1315, which says in order for them to move it from your illicit drug side, many veterans have to take a drug test to get certain medications. But then if you're not a medical cannabis patient locally, then they're not going to recognize it, right? So, and they're going to keep it on your illicit drugs versus an over-the-counter medication. I want to make sure we protect our veterans as well. Realistically, there's a home cultivation provision that's supposed to end once dispensaries are open. But the problem is, for the last 3 years or 4 years, we've had patients grow their medicine, and now we're going to tell them to stop when really you can grow on a recreational scale. But patients really need more medicine, and we need to keep these things open to help our patients who've already identified strains that work for them, and they consider medicine just like me.
Excellent, excellent. I think that you definitely have defined who you are as a candidate and what you're going to bring to the island. Should you move past the general election into the 37th Guam legislature. So it's always nice when candidates are firm on who they are and what they're going to bring to the table. So we're going to segue right into a question that I did ask you in the last interview. And yet you actually just touched on it, on how you intend to help the local business community. So you did touch on that. Was there anything else that you wanted to add in regards to how you can assist the local business community?
So the beauty about building a robust cannabis industry, it actually can help so many. There's ancillary businesses that are going to be affected, not just restaurants, okay? Because everybody thinks it's just going to be restaurants, because everybody's going to get the munchies and they're going to go and eat. That's not the only thing. So when we really think about it, when we look at cannabis tourism, we're going to need hotel rooms. We're also going to need facilities for these people, leisure facilities. We're also going to need things like this increases our wholesalers, right? But we also have all these other things that are there. this is good. We all the small businesses, if we bring more tourists in for specifically for this, they're going to come in. They're going to utilize our facilities. Our businesses are going to be able to get more the revenue that they need to sustain, but also gases and all the material that they need needs to be sourced locally. And then taking the waste from the cannabis industry, the soils and the green matter, and then composting it, right? This is going to create more small business because now we can actually compost stuff. And then, of course, I've been talking to them about, hey, what about protecting our taking our runoff, the runoff water, which is already nutrient rich water, and then donating it to my community garden project that I'm actually envisioning. So maximizing everything that this industry uses and then incorporating it into our community as a whole, because really there's a lot of money, not just on the getting directly involved, but on the ancillary positions that is going to be needed for this industry to sustain.
Yeah, definitely. There are always those benefits or opportunities for the ancillary services or businesses whenever there's a new industry of any sort that pops up. So that's something definitely to look forward to. And I love the community garden project. A big shout out to Juice Sustainability. We're partnering
Mm-hmm.
up. I'm going to see what we can do on the contractor side of things to see if I can get some support from our private contractors. They got a grant for 10 schools. They're going to build school gardens, and it's going to be
Absolutely.
from garden to lunchroom. So I love that. I love that aspect. Okay, sweet. So we're at the latter part of the interview, and what we're doing with this round, since we're leading into the general election, is we are informing the candidates as well as our viewers of the 5 current initiatives for the Action Pack. So I'm going to read them out one at a time, and then you can
Yep.
let me know, kind sir, if you agree, if you disagree, or if you want to elaborate. So number one, it's no secret we are pro-business. We believe a healthy business equals healthy businesses equal a healthy economy, which equal a greater quality of life for everyone that calls Guam home. So the rollback of the BPT, that's a conversation that we started many moons ago, and it led to actual legislature that rolled back BPT for 85% of the businesses on the island. But there are some businesses that were shunned out of that legislature, deemed they were too profitable. But the thing about it is you cannot measure a business's profitability by their gross earnings, because they have a higher cost to operate, be it more employees, higher benefits, insurance plans, so on and so forth. So number one, our first initiative is a rollback of the BPT for all business. Where do you stand on that?
So I'm not objecting to this. This is why I look at new industry, right? In order to create more taxes to cover the shortfall that we're going to see from any rollback of the BPT, because it really we just gave a bunch of paper. The government just deservingly, deservingly teachers, our frontliners, our healthcare workers, and our public safety officers. They all just got raises, right? And now this is things that we have to think about in the new budget. But the best way that I'm looking at rolling back the BPT, I'm not opposed to it. Let me make that very clear. I just believe that we have to have new industries to come in and supplement the loss in tax revenue that the government's gonna have to cover. We can only do so much if we can't roll back more than what the government needs. But the best way to do it is to create new industry. Cannabis is not the only one. I'm actually looking at the exportation of hemp to and using Guam and growing using a lot of feral land that we don't that are just not that are not being grown for anything, and use it for hemp production so we can actually export hemp. Also, with the exportation of hemp, right? We can lower the. This is a great look at what this plant can do, because we can actually create hempcrete, and this is a renewable resource. This is a concrete that can be made here if we process it. The problem is right now the hempcrete is having issues getting insured, but we do have affordable housing things to look at on that side, as well as gigacrete. But when we look at rolling back the BPT, in order to do that, we have to create industry. And once we can create enough industry, instead of just blowing the additional tax revenue. We need to look at rolling back and protecting the businesses that need the break. Right now, this pandemic has not helped many businesses. I was just at the Guam Tourism and Travel Association forum yesterday, and I can tell you that it doesn't look good. It's eight. We're at 8%. The coverage that we're seeing is from the military that were coming here to help the build up. But right now we're really seeing about 8% is what Mary Rhodes was talking about of what our pre-pandemic numbers from our source markets. So when we look at that, these businesses are struggling. We need to look at alleviating that tax burden. But we have to. The best way that I can see doing it is by creating new industry.
Thank you for that answer. Yeah, definitely new industries. What is it called? They add to the effectiveness of our economy. And that's a conversation that we look forward to continuing with the 37th Guam legislature. So that leads us into initiative number 2. Advocate for government efficiency to protect and preserve its resources. Keyword efficiency.
We need to automate the government of Guam. I've actually looked at programs to automate the government of Guam probably the last 4 years. I've been looking at government automation programs because I have friends who are in the tech space, and they've been saying, "Hey, we need to automate," and then they all of a sudden I was like, "How are we going to automate this?" And it's going to cost the government $50 million to do so. But there's ways to do this, and actually, I've seen 3 different models where it's one main server in each department, right? That all connects to probably we can put it anywhere. We can put the main server anywhere, and it's a data driven thing. So once it goes into the server, it's saved on site, and we're digitizing files. We have to look at this because, and then while on top of that, you can apply for your permitting. You can schedule your your inspections that you need, and then you can also upload the pictures that you need to upload, so you can prove the fact that of what that you're ready for the next step in the move. Also, one thing we really have to consider is DPW is grossly understaffed. They don't have enough engineers out there to come out and do building inspections. We have to work on getting skilled workers out into those positions, and try to push for more recruitment. I'm glad GOG is now doing an engineering program, because now we can actually work with that engineering program and try to keep local talent here. But really, we have to automate our government in order to maximize the efficiency. What this would also do, it would lower the cost of it would save the burden from our people who are stressed out every single time they have to deal with any processing, because they're always down there. They have to wait. They don't even know if the guy's going to be in, because they're out for inspections. And then when they go there, they're shortchanged. This takes time and money away from people. But if you can go and use your phone or your computer and just upload the documentation, and then when they come in, they just click, and then you're ready to get. You see, it's scheduled. It's so much of an easier process. We've already done it with driver's license. We've done it with car renewals. Now we need to do it with every other permitting process on our island. The proof of concept is there. It's time for us to move forward.
It is not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. It's 2022. I think it takes as simple as finding a municipality in the mainland, a city in the mainland, with possibly the similar demographic as far as population, and visiting, or having their product because it's. I used to live in California, and it's a one-stop shop. It's really a one-stop shop, and unfortunately, I love the people at the one stop, but it's not their fault. It's the lack of update to our process, that it's one stop after another stop after another stop. It was a big conversation piece at today's Guam Contractors Association forum. Was the processing and the permitting fee, how it's a linear process. You run up this way, and then you got to run back this way for this stamp to bring a receipt up to this way. We can create a beautiful, efficient, and automated process. So I love that.
Not just for permitting, right? This is also for social services stuff that I'm looking at too. When I say automate the government of Guam, I mean automate the government of Guam. public health. So if you ever have to apply for any social welfare benefits, right? You got to go to the mayor's office. You got to go to, and then take that paperwork to public health. And when you take that paperwork to public health, you don't know if you're going to hit your time slots. I'm talking from the ground level because even to get a real ID or to get a Guam ID, you have to get these paperwork instead of just going in there registering with your municipality one time and then having it on a database where people can access or request access to view, right, and verify if somebody's there. Those kind of automations are going to be greater for everybody on our island. That's what I'm
Absolutely.
looking at.
Absolutely. I firmly agree. Excellent. So number three, improve the transparency in all levels of government of Guam and promote open communication and collaboration between the public and private sectors. Where do you stand on this initiative?
We have to talk. It's all of our island. I make a joke with a lot of the guys, a lot of the people running, right, the senatorial candidates. And I said, hey, could we introduce a bill to leave the mics on in the legislature? Because I want to know I'm just watching on YouTube for years. I've always had to, and many people have done their personal commentaries of what's being said. And instead of having to do a personal commentary, what are we hiding in those conversations, right? That the mics have to go off. And then everybody said, no, 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 no. Everybody that I talked to. But when I think of transparency, right, it's being able to go in there, not have to go to court like we've seen with some senatorial candidates, right, having to go to court and get a FOIA. We should be able to talk to our community unless there's an NDA or we have to protect what is it information I can't remember the word where we have to protect information that could patented or trademarked information or stuff of that nature, right? And we're as long as we have a conversation and we're not destroying the procurement process, everything that us as a government should work towards transparency, especially for the private sector we're going to have to go to for the procurement. Don't let people know last minute. And then when you let them know last minute, what happens? They expect, I want this here in 2 weeks. But that really doesn't work like that because the private sector still has to procure it. They have to go and they have to source it. Then they have to get shipping, and then now the government of Guam is paying for rush shipping or a higher shipping charge because the government of Guam was just inefficient in its process and they didn't talk to the right people. I think these are things that's something that we have to work on.
Absolutely. I'm going to put on my business director hat real quick. And I firmly believe that conversation needs to continue because there's so many times where I would see an RFQ or RFP or a bid, so on and so forth. And from an expert, a product expert person who actually does a product knowledge, I handle the product or this type of service that they're looking
Mhm.
for. We could easily read it like this is inefficient. They would be able to aid the government can save money by properly wording it or properly knowing current materials or products that are available that are way better than their copy and paste descriptions. So utilizing the experts within the whatever industry that the procurement or a legislature would affect and having that conversation is key. So I love that. Awesome. So number four, down to the last two. One of our initiatives is to strengthen or continue to strengthen the relations with the U.S. military to improve safety and security for Guam and our region and maximize every economic opportunity for our island. Where do you stand on that?
So we need to be safe and secure here. The problem is we know that worldwide we see actually just right down a couple hundred nautical miles away from us is China. And right now we know that the relationship between the United States and China are not in the best place as it's been in the last 20 years. So we see the struggle that's happening in our own region. We know that the military buildup is real. There's nothing that at this point in time and juncture, uh, I'm not going to get in the way of this, but we need to ensure that we protect our land, our water, and the artifacts that are being left there. When we look, when I want, what I want to see happen with the military buildup is that they respect our island. Rather, but what's currently happening is the military buildup. I believe is one of the reasons why the cost of inflation is going up. The cost of the housing market is a competitive. It's a competitive market, and our local people are currently getting priced out because the OHA. The only way I view fixing this right and addressing this homeless this housing crisis that we're facing because our own people are getting put out is sustainable resources for building, right? So we can lower the cost of housing for our people at least, and then use it as a local initiative, right? And work and treat it like that instead of building all this infrastructure for the military. We have that. We're already doing that. That's what we're working towards. But we need to be able to do both and take care of both sides. But right now it's not really working like that. We're seeing our own people, more and more people on the street every day. And we can't afford to keep doing that and pushing our own people to the wayside. The military buildup is going to be good for our economy. And I firmly believe that. And we're already seeing the effects of that. Like I said, GTTA's forum, they just talked about how the numbers being given right now are up because of the military buildup. So we see how that's helping our economy to stay semi afloat, right? To stay afloat during the times of struggle, and that's why we can't just give it away and give it up. But I believe they need to protect our island, culture, and our waters. Right now, what I don't disagree with what they're actually doing on this buildup is they're trying to block people out of Ritidian. It's been a conversation where they want to put a live firing range in that area, and that place is somewhere. I remember Ritidian Point before it was a national wildlife, and used to be able to camp there. That's where I learned how to fish. That's where I learned how to set net. That's where I grew up, and not to be able to have access to this place that I grew up in because they're gonna shoot munitions that way. It's not right for me. It's not right for my family. It's not right for our island. We need to ensure that we have the conversation and dialogue to ensure that those things are happening, and they're not just thinking of their own personal needs for national defense, but they're also taking things into consideration that deal with our community.
Yeah, definitely, and that's why it comes down to what something that we are a huge advocate for, regardless if it's federal government, local government, business to business, public private sector. It's dialogue. There's so much importance in dialogue and continued dialogue, where point of views and differences of opinion can meet respectfully, and then a outcome or a compromise it is made for the benefit of all. So I appreciate that. As you're talking about, defending or taking care of the land, the ocean, all of that good stuff. I just really remember, like, when you translate the Interfresi, which is almost like our pledge here on island, that's basically what it says. So I mean, that definitely resonated. And we're rounding out our last one, and this is always a coin flip with the candidates. Where do you stand on the support for a part-time legislature?
So I heard the arguments, right, of we're going to get more people out there who are interested. But the problem is that I have with the part-time legislature is our senators need to be how do we call it, accountable to our people on a regular basis, not on a part-time basis. Really, the senators are making less than pretty much most public officials, elected officials. I believe they're 40 some. I don't even care. Because it's not about that. It's about servicing the people, taking care of the people of this island. And I get it where, more voices, more people with business attributes and who work for the government can come out and participate in this and do this. But the reality of it is, as a senator, you're accountable for the people 110% of the time, not on a part-time basis. when your phone rings, just like, and I'm going to take a municipal mentality into this. When my phone rings at 2 o'clock in the morning from somebody who I don't know, but they're calling me because uh, they know that I'm going to be able to respond, or I'm going to be able to get the answers that they need at 2 o'clock in the morning because it was an emergency. This is the thing that people neglect to remember. Public servants are is being a public servant is a 24/7 job. You don't raise your hand and swear to an 8 to 5 or an 8 to 12 or a part-time position. You are serving, you are raising your hand on a flight for a commitment to serve our people, no matter 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, or 9 o'clock at 9 o'clock at night. And we have to be accountable and ready to do that at any given time. And going part-time, I feel that it's gonna only hurt that image because somebody's gonna be having to tend to their business or their regular job instead of being accountable and working towards the greater good of our people.
All right, well, thank you so much. I mean, I appreciate your point of view on all of our initiatives from the top to the bottom. I appreciate your candor, your honesty, and it really feels like throughout this whole interview that you were speaking from your heart, and the things that you truly believe in. Not a lot of what many would consider in a political landscape, lavish promises of any sort. So with that said, I would like to give you a chance to do a closing remark. Remind everyone where they can find you on the ballot.
Yes, thank you once again, Action Pack. Thank you, people of Guam and Action Pack Familia. This has been a tremendous opportunity. I'm Jonathan Savares, number 14 on the Democratic side of the ballot. And what I always want to, this is not about me. This is about we. This is about us. This is about our people, not just any one senatorial candidate. This is about all of us on our island who call Guam home. And that's why I'm running. It's about inclusivity of all people and listening to all people on our island in order to make the greatest choice for what we have to do to move our island forward. Once again, I'm number 14 on the Democratic side of the ballot, and I humbly ask for your support. Thank you, Guam, and thank you, Action Pack.
Right on, Mr. Jon Savares, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it straight from his mouth of what he's going to bring to the table, and what he has to offer. And he is vying for one of your 15 senatorial votes in the upcoming election. Again, early voting is going on now. It is at the
Get out and vote.
Get out and vote.
Get out and vote.
And I did hear from GEC themselves that you are able to register and vote at the early voting. So if you aren't registered, your voice still matters. Let's make it matter. Turn in that card.
Mayor's, you can register at your mayor's office from 4 to 6. That's open right now, as well, because the volunteer registration is now over. Yes. So now, if you want to register, you can actually register at your mayor's office until I believe the 24th.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. See, register at your mayor's office, register at the early voting at the Westin.
And GCC, I believe GCC is going to have early voting and registration at the same time.
See, so you can see that there's many people involved and many hands at play that we're just trying to empower the people from the south to the north. Get out and vote. Your vote does matter. We're not going to tell you how to vote. We're gonna bring you candidates like Mr. Jon Savares. We're going to allow you to listen to his platform and what his beliefs are, and then you make your knowledgeable decision. So thank you so much for your time, John. Thanks again. This is another episode of
Action Pack. Thank you, Phil.
Pack Show. My name is Phil Leddy. Juan, be safe. Thank you and adjust.